If you had thousands of witnesses of a UFO, would that prove that UFOs are real? If not, it proves that there's something weird around Illinois.
Welcome to the Weird Around Illinois podcast. Today we're going to talk about UFOs over Lake Michigan. Let's get weird. Some of you may not know that Illinois is actually in the top 10 sites, or top 10 states for reported UFO sightings. This was determined after this massive collection of UFO data that's taken place over the last several years. I guess you could argue that we're also one of the most populous states in the United States, so it makes sense with more people, there'd be more sightings, but when you realize that we're right up there with states like Texas and Alaska and California and Ohio and places that you normally associate with paranormal activity, it's a little surprising. Some of the big things when we talk about UFO sightings specifically related to Lake Michigan, you gotta start with the 1994 October sighting that happened over Lake Michigan. That was a big one.
Yeah, it had over 300 reports.
Wow.
Supposedly.
And it was multicolored lights and different shapes, and it seemed like everybody was seeing very different things out there.
A lot of people claim to see like orbs, right?
Yeah. I saw in one article it was described as almost Christmas lights moving around rapidly.
Yeah, and what amazes me is, I was around in 1994, and I don't even remember hearing about this. And, it just goes to show how before the internet really took off, a lot of this information kind of got swept under the rug unless you happened to be living in that area at the time. Now, one that happened a little bit later, in 2006, was the big O'Hare Airport sighting, where thousands of people saw this huge disc-shaped object over the O'Hare Airport that looked like the mothership. That one was written off as an unusual weather phenomenon. Now,
the way clouds can emulate that.
No, and considering how many people saw it and how much footage was taken of it, it is remarkably hard to find a picture of it these days, which, kind of gets back to our old friends, the Men in Black, but that's a talk for another time. One of the things that kind of sparked our investigation is there have been a number of sightings in the area of Beach Park, Illinois, kind of all the way up and down that beachfront from Waukegan all the way up to like Winthrop Harbor. Just all those beaches have had various UFO sightings reported from 2008 to 2023. And, most of them were just one or two witness sightings, so it was nothing that was going to get on the news, but when you put them all together, it's like 7 or 8 different reports from the same stretch of beach. But there are a few theories on why there might be all these sightings around Lake Michigan. One of the biggest ones is that there's some sort of underwater alien base in the Great Lakes, possibly in Lake Michigan itself. There's some support for that. I think you saw a YouTube video about some stones underwater.
Underwater, this one guy found rocks almost in a circle formation, and inside, like engraved in those rocks, was some kind of engraving. I can't remember what exactly it was.
It looked like it could have almost been an alien language.
Possibly.
And the formation of the stones, it looked like a stone UFO would be the way I would describe it. There have also been more than its fair share of disappearances in Lake Michigan. People go out on boats and fishing trips and don't come back, and they never find the boat, they never find the body. This used to happen a lot more frequently. Now with GPS tracking and everything, it's easier to keep an eye on people when they're out on the water. But for a long time, people were starting to call Lake Michigan the Bermuda Triangle of the Midwest.
Oh, wow. That's a bold statement.
Yeah. And kind of related to that is there are some sea monster stories from Lake Michigan. There are people who claim to have seen various types of sea monsters, kind of reminiscent of the Loch Ness Monster, up and down, particularly the Illinois side of Lake Michigan. Another theory that gets thrown out there a lot is the theory of the nearby military bases. Now, right now we have Great Lakes Naval Base, which is, I believe, still the largest naval training center in America. You know, very basically based on Lake Michigan. We used to also have Fort Sheridan and the Glenview Naval Air Station. I'm not sure to what degree those two are still operating, but those were two other big military bases in the area. So whenever you got a military base, you have kind of an Area 51 situation. You start to say, okay, are the aliens here because the military base is here? Are they coming to spy on our military? Are the military bases here because they're studying the aliens? Or are people mistaking the military aircraft for alien craft? Having, you know, lived in the area for quite a while, I don't ever remember seeing experimental aircraft flying out of any of these places. Again, it's a training center. They wouldn't be using their most high-tech stuff, I don't think. So again, the search area was Waukegan, Beach Park, Zion, and Winthrop Harbor. And we just basically went from beach to beach to beach, trying to check out some of the exact sightings of some of these locations and just some other beach sightings where, you know, we thought it would be prime location to see some alien spacecraft.
The day we went was more cloudy, so it was kind of unlucky. When we basically stared into nothingness, it's like our visual point just kind of stopped.
Yeah, I feel like we just couldn't see anything like above those clouds. I mean, if like UFOs could really be high up, we probably wouldn't see it because clouds would just cover it.
It was weird though, because the clouds were like a line. You couldn't see like individual clouds.
Yeah, no, it was just pure fog almost.
Right.
It wasn't even true clouds.
And you could see like a straight line where the sky stopped and the clouds began. I remember we kept watching those clouds, expecting to see, you know, a UFO or a Mothman or something pop out. All I saw was a few seagulls. And that was pretty much the condition at each beach that we went to, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't anything much there.
Yeah. We did have the one odd sighting at, I think it was at Illinois Beach State Park, where we're looking off to the north and we see way out in the water, like so far out that we had to look through the binoculars to see it. There was a pole.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what they would use that for.
Yeah. It's become almost a trademark of our searches to find the unexplained pole.
Yeah.
Grove and this.
Yeah. And there were a few in Elkhorn too. We just didn't comment on them. Yeah, this was I looked at it and I'm like, okay, for it to be that far out in the middle of the water, either there has to be a sandbar out there, which is possible, meaning that the water wouldn't be as deep, or that would have to be like a 200-foot pole, or it would have to be attached to something that was floating just below the surface, like a submarine periscope or something. But the thing is, it did not move even a little bit.
It didn't look like there was like land around it. It
No.
looked almost like in the middle of Lake Michigan, even though I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really strange, and you know, it leads back to that whole underwater base idea. You know?
Yeah.
Is this like their air hole where they're getting all their you know, fresh air from? I'm sure there has to be a logical explanation for it. Maybe there's, you know, some sort of equipment they put at the bottom of Lake Michigan there to monitor water quality or something, and the pole was just attached to it. But
I was technically able to get it on camera, but I don't know if I have it saved.
I might have it still.
It was really hard to see anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a dot.
Yeah, it was just a dot on camera anyway.
And that's with full magnification.
Yeah.
So that was, as I recall, it was kind of disappointing for us because we really thought we were going to see something that day and didn't see anything. But for all we know, there could have been 10,000 aliens up there just above the cloud line.
Yeah. Another thing we didn't mention yet, there was like a one of those spy balloons that was seen over Lake Michigan.
Oh, right. Yeah, we forgot about that one. This was relatively recent. This was what, like January or February of 2023.
I think February, yeah.
Oh, the Chinese spy balloon.
Well, you know what was interesting about that is the first one was identified as a Chinese spy balloon. I never heard what the other ones were.
No.
I think everybody just assumed that they were related.
Yeah. Yeah, assuming the truth based on what the government chooses to tell us is sometimes a dangerous game.
Yes.
But all we know for sure is that they shot down something with a missile over Lake Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, over the last few months, we haven't gotten any information from the government. So whatever really did happen, we know it. We kind of know what they're hiding it because, like, what do we have right now?
Yeah. I mean, if it was something completely harmless, if it was just a weather balloon or something like that, they would have come out and told us, oh yeah, it was a weather balloon. Here it is. If it was a Chinese spy balloon, maybe I could see them keeping it secret, but they already shot one down. Why wouldn't they say they shot down 3 more? Yeah, we wouldn't have minded seeing that out there either. At least we could have said we saw it before they shot it down.
But again, who knows? Maybe it was above the clouds and we just didn't see it.
Quite possible. Well, one thing we did manage to find while we were doing this investigation was some really good pizza.
Yeah.
We went to one of my old favorites, Mike's Pizza in Waukegan. The challenge of Mike's Pizza is getting it. Because if you order it delivery, you're going to be waiting a while because it's a really, really, really popular place. And if you order it for carryout, it is not the most spacious area to pick up a pizza.
Yeah, the waiting room was just a box.
Right.
That's the only way I could describe it.
Yeah, and a crowded box.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few people at the time, probably not nearly as crowded, but...
No, I'm used to going there on like a Friday or Saturday night when they cram like 100 people into that box.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we were looking at like 12. It's worth all that because the pizza is just incredible. And it's a great thin crust pizza, and they have like the most unique flavored sauce I've ever tasted. It was it's hard to describe because usually the first time somebody tastes Mike's Pizza, the first piece or two, it's like, this isn't so great. By the time they get to like that 4th or 5th piece, they're ready to go out and buy another pizza because you just can't stop eating the stuff.
What are they putting in there?
Yeah. But that was certainly the high point of our investigation, was eating that pizza.
Right.
But overall, what do you guys have for conclusions? What do you think about this search or the idea of UFOs over Lake Michigan?
I didn't see anything. I don't think the poll really means that much in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any reason to suspect really UFOs coming in the next year.
I agree with him about the poll, but I do think there's something sketchy going on based off, what was it, you said like around 1,000 sightings of UFO?
Yeah, there were thousands of sightings of the O'Hare Airport UFO, and then hundreds of people citing the one in Michigan, over Lake Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know, it just seems like a lot to really say it's not there to me, so...
Yeah, maybe it was there, but at the moment I feel like there's really nothing there now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so many of these investigations of cryptids and ghosts and UFOs, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. And, when we were there, it didn't feel like the right time. I mean, we weren't really... We didn't get that vibe that, we were being watched, or that, we were hearing strange engines in the distance or anything like that. It just felt like a normal day at the beach.
Yeah, the climate just wasn't right. All that.
Well, someday we will be in the right place at the right time, and we will see what we're looking for. Or more likely, we'll see what we're not looking for. We'll be looking for a UFO, and then dogman will come charging out of the bushes or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to leave comments in the comments section or fill out our anonymous report form. And as always, thank you for listening, and thank you so much for pushing that subscribe button. Thanks.